Welcome to an exciting evening of world building with Buck. I, of course, am Puck, your world building guide in these worlds of world building. Felix will be arriving shortly. In the meantime, allow me to guide you through what we've been creating so far. Last week we did some stuff. So, we've been working on, because we decided to open up a world anvil, get this stuff organized. Because previously we just been putting it as dots on a map and incarnate, which is fine, I guess, but needs some work, needs some effort put into it. So, created a world anvil account, and we've been filling out the world anvil on World Anvil. So, first thing I wanted to do, and the thing I started working on last week, so I wanted to flesh out the stories of the empires a little more. I think there's a reason why everybody loves the Melingar Empire when I bring them on the show, tell them about it. And that reason is because they just, there's more effort put into the story there, where everything else is very broad brush, very surface level. The Melingar Empire is the only world description that goes a little bit deeper. Everyone else is just like, this is the place, this is the government, this is the leader, done. This is the place, the government, the leader. Whereas the Melingar Empire has a bit more built into its culture, a little bit more of its ideas set up and its history. So it definitely feels more fleshed out than the other empires. And, that needs some work. That's something I should work on. So that's what I started doing last week. I dove into the Kaligarn Empire. If I could pull it up here. And I did some work on the Kaligarn Empire. I also made a calendar that didn't do anything, but I made it. There it is. That's the Greyhawk calendar. I made one too. There it is. Treasured Expanse calendar. I imagine it'll come into play later when I make timelines and stuff. I was like, I'm just going to make a calendar. Fuck it. Let's just do it. I also created the Cult of the Blizzard Queen, which I'm not 100% on that name, if I'm being completely honest. I'm not sold on it just yet. I'd like to play with it a little more. Not sure where I want to land with it, but basically it's a cult of people that believe that some mysterious, powerful entity resides in the northernmost regions, and they are responsible for the disappearances of Last Light and the dangerous nature of the winters in the area. However, they also believe the being can be appeased with, sacrifices and things, and think that there are ways to get lighter winters by ensuring that people are well taken care of. And the sacrifices, making the being happy. I trailed off there for a moment. I'm back. Everything's cool. So, currently I'm a freeman. I think I need to become a guild member. Oh, I don't know if I'm a sage. Let me see. 2 gigabytes of space. That's custom article URL. Fast lane support. Google Analytics integration. Man. Let's Advanced customization for this. Quick visibility toggle. Blah, 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 blah. You know what? Let's toy with this a little bit more as we go. Hello, Rusty. How's it going, pal? Worlds, universe. Man, I don't need unlimited worlds. That seems excessive. I'm good. I'm fine. Oh my god. You really get up there. A sage worldsmith. You get all the things. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm gonna stop looking at this because it's probably not super great. Like, I don't know. Is this like advertising? I have no idea. Lifetime. Master doesn't have a lifetime setting. My god, that's a lot of money Canadian. My streaming account didn't cost that much. Alright, I'll think about this. Not 100%. Not 100% that I'm in. I'll think about it. Let's go back to my world. Shall we? We still got articles to write. I'm getting ahead of myself. World Anvil, player handbook. I should come up. That was the other thing. I remembered now. Holy shit. Okay. So, somebody in the comments, a person whose name I remember. Hang on. Skull Elf asked me about elves in my world. And I said, yeah, there's elves just like every other elves. Elves, sure, why not? And then they're like, okay, tell me more about the elves. And I was like, I got nothing to say to that. They're elves. And that's a problem, right? Like, I need to adjust that. The elves in my world would have their own history. All of the races would. But instead, I've gone in and just kind of broadly said, yeah, whatever, multicultural society. And ignored the individual histories of race in the world. How odd. So, I need individual histories. And I need to come up with those for the individual races that reside in my world. And I need to play into that a little bit with their creation and their details. And I just didn't do that. I didn't think it was important. And I continued to think it wasn't important until somebody asked me about it. So, thank you, Skull Elf. Thank you. And I will talk about the worlds. And if I have any questions about elves, I'll be sure to ask you. Shout out to Skull Elf in the comments. It could be the Easter egg to go for, but it could also be, like, difficult to understand. I don't know, Rusty. You make some valid points. But it doesn't always work. Because some of the stuff is specific to locations. So as far as copy-pasting stuff in, it's not necessarily going to work. Because if they say, oh, your elves, the Moon Guard, Fey Realm, all this kind of stuff, and those things don't exist in my world, I don't know. There's nothing I can do with that. I need to consider it as its own individual thing. And that does seem like a monumental task, but what I'm trying to create here should have those things in there. If I think of it in a broader scope, in terms of if I want this world to be playable and runnable by other people after I'm done doing a series about it, these are things I need to think about. Because I know I'll just make up something on the spot, but not all dungeon masters are like that. And if you have those dangling unanswered questions, it's going to be difficult for other people to manage, excuse me, and exist in your world. That was brought to you by Sun-Kissed Fruit Snacks. And Pepsi. So, let's take a look at what we were doing with Kaligarn Empire, shall we? Edit article. Spell check article. Spell check article complete. Lot of made up places. Mind Flare? Kenku, Shiny, Slip, Degris Fahrenheit. That was a good name. That was a nice one. Alright, so we got the government, we got the military. We have those organizations detailed inside the government. However, this is specifically details about the Empire. So we should pull out the section about the Golden Satchel and pull out the section about the Kaligarn Army, because those are different organizations. They're organizations that exist within the Empire, but they are not the Empire. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. I'm going to go with it makes sense. And so, they need their own thing. They need their own thing. We got to work it out. Yeah. I think that's it. Hang on, I'm talking to Felix. That's pretty casual. But anyways, so these should be stripped out. These should be separate. These should be different organizations nested within this one. And I wonder if there is a thing I can do. Sections, maybe? Maybe. No. No? Yes. Maybe this is how I do content tree. Become a Grand Master. Look, bud, just don't... Sounds good. Alright, Felix coming in. We might have another special guest coming in as well. Who knows? Everybody, I give you Felix. Hey, Felix. How's it going?
How's it going? Am I already live?
Yeah, we're already going. I started like 15 minutes ago.
Hot damn. Well, hello, everybody.
It's okay. There's not a lot of them. So
I thought I'm entering like the pre-stream lobby or something.
Nah, look, that's fancy stuff. Not with my casual streams, bro. I don't
right.
So, like, Felix, the first thing that I and everybody wants to know, how are you enjoying Elden Ring?
Oh, I'm loving it actually. It's definitely my favorite in the Soul series because I
Really?
think it feels like they went through all their games,
Mhm.
looked at all of them. It's like we're gonna take our favorite pieces from each of these games, and then we're gonna put them together in this new awesome game. We're just gonna kind of fuck up the multiplayer a bit, but not to worry. Uh, yeah, no, I'm really loving
I've been
it.
seeing you playing it a lot, and I'm just like, oh, Felix must be having a great time with that.
Yeah, and I'm trying to like 100% it. So I just kind of go through the areas, and then at the end, I
Oh,
look up a walkthrough to make sure I didn't like miss something that I should have done, and then I'll like
so
try to find it.
you're doing the meticulous like section by section carve out that you're. Oh
Yes,
wow.
exactly. I'm being super super picky.
My dude, I wish I had the discipline for that kind of first playthrough.
Ah, like I wasted probably a good what is it like maybe an hour in that damn what is it called the tower like the inverted tower. I'm just like there's gotta be the solution here somewhere to turn this damn tower upside down. I was like fucking hell. Oh sorry, I don't know if we should swear on
No,
stream.
whatever. It is whatever.
Okay, sweet. But it's like yeah, wasted an hour because I'm trying to be a completionist about it.
Oh man, that's like I can't do that on the first playthrough. Whenever I do my first playthrough with a game, I'm always just like blah 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 blah, just going along doing the thing, and then I get to the
Yeah.
end and I'm like, shit, now I have to do this again to finish all the stuff I missed.
Yeah. I don't want to miss anything if I can avoid it.
So, I guess the other question I want to ask you is: you getting a lot of inspiration out of this? Is this
Always. I mean,
always? Oh,
God, Fool's Gold was built with like, what was it, Dark Souls 2 and 3, so it's certainly influencing things.
it's just ooh! I can't wait to see. Can't wait to see, man.
Mm-hmm.
Wait to see it comes out. But I wanted to introduce you to my world and get your thoughts, my friend.
Hell yes.
All right, let me show you what I'm working with here. All right, so a lot of this is kind of loosely based on like some Canadian history,
Okay, nice.
but I'm pulling you into it, and I think you'll pick up on the parts. But anyways, so the whole impetus of the campaign is that they have discovered a new continent. There are 4 empires in this world, and a new continent has been discovered. And each
So
of
far, so Canada.
right, each of the 4 empires is kind of in a mad dash to get to this place and explore it and kind of carve out their own piece for it. Let me tell you about the empires I've created. So, we've got the Kaligarn Empire, the first one. Kind of a hyper-capitalist society, absolute free market driven, very much in the idea of there's no kind of regulations. They're not super into government or religion there. It's very BioShock-esque in the way that it's run. So there is a council called the Golden Satchel that operates as a kind of pseudo government made up of the most powerful corporations in the empire.
Oh, nice.
And it rotates a little bit, but one is always remained at the top, and that is the banking corporation, which I did name and actually went through with Bees a little bit. Bees helped me out with the Golden Satchel members.
Nice.
What did we call our bank? Okay. No, I called it something. I just did it yesterday.
Secret Dragon.
Secret Dragon.
I had that in my world as well. It was just a banker, just a normal banker with no, weirdly like footsteps that weigh like 5,000 pounds. It's like, why is this elf so heavy?
Right? Well, when we were thinking about the banker, it's like it makes sense for it to be a dragon, but we've kind of given dragons this like fearsome place in this world. But anyways, the place is called the Kaligarn Financial Trust Bank, or
It just sounds
Caligrant
trustworthy.
Financial Trust Bank, and it's always just kind of existed at the top of the Golden Satchel. So the whole thing is just like, man, the front the front-facing section of the Kaligarn Empire has, hey, if you could make it here, you can make it anywhere. If you've got an idea, you go into Kaligarn, you start your business, and you'll do great. But it ignores the fact that there's a lot of very wealthy and powerful people that have been there longer than you that might wreck your life. So it's a tough place to live in a lot of ways. And it has had a standing army of sorts that is just like a collection of military contractors that defend Kaligarn simply because they can't exist in any other empire. So it's makes sense for them to continue. It's mutually beneficial for the two of them to continue. So Kaligarn is
that kind of army that like goes to invade, and the invadee just says, "I'll pay you more," and then they'll just invade back the other guy.
right. But the only thing preventing that is that they're pretty sure that the other empires won't tolerate them.
Yeah, fair enough.
So they need to stay there, but they do a little bit of most of the sections of the Kaligarn military, which collectively forms a group known as the Chimera, operate in times of peace, performing like industrial espionage and like business warfare and stuff. within the empire.
Peaceful activities.
So that's Kaligarn. They're one of the players that has a big presence in my new continent. The other one is the Saskatoon Empire.
A
Right?
little on the nose.
Yeah.
Let me guess. It's flat and empty.
No, well, not entirely. This one's actually supposed to be on my British Empire stand-in. I just picked the name because I was like, this actually came from a conversation with somebody else who's going to be DMing some new content for us in the fall. Because I was trying to come up with names for stuff. And, I can't remember what it was I was looking at. Oh, right. They had a name of something in their world that was like the same as like some North Saskatchewan town. And I asked them, and I said, "Hey, have you been to Saskatchewan? This is weird." she was like, "No, it was just a name I made up." And I'm like, "Man, come to think of it, the Canadian prairies are full of weird named towns."
Oh, yeah. Canadians in general suck at naming things. It's like, yes, what is this place called? It's like, oh yeah, it's like the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah, that's because they're rocky and they're mountains.
Dingo's yelling across the room. What'd you say? Blue Lake, Yellow Lake, Big Lake? Yeah, exactly.
There are a lot of those. Yeah. But yeah, I was like, oh, I'm just going to go through Google Maps and pick out some weird names. But I decided to go with Saskatoon for this one because I wanted to modify it a little bit. But anyways, this is my British Empire stand-in. These guys are one of the main players in the new continent as well. Very much about tradition, honor, duty, and very stuffy people overall. Has a monarchy. Old emperor had to step down because the empire had a problem. It couldn't stop going to war with every single empire all the time. Just constant fighting to the point that they were going broke.
Oy.
So the people were upset. The emperor had a daughter, his youngest, who the people loved, was always out with the people, sympathetic to their plights. They said, "You need to go. We want her." And so she was thrust into the position of Empress, under the idea that she would stop the constant war and try to restore peace and financial stability to the Saskatoon Empire. Saskatoon was the first to discover the new continent, and as such, they're doing their best to try and maintain an uneasy peace with Kaligarn, who has long since been their rival, and still get something out of this new place in order to build themselves back up again. Then we've got the Ramvalli Empire. The Ramvalli Empire is founded on a bit of a legend. A group of tieflings escaped the Hells and defeated their archdevil overlord, and then founded a new empire for themselves called Ramvalli. Ramvalli's society and culture is built very solidly around the idea of community strength, the strengths of groups and individual skills contributing to those groups. As
Yeah.
such, they do have a king, but the king is more of a figurehead. He doesn't really do anything. He doesn't necessarily have any real power, but he is the
Oh.
person that they hand things over to in times of conflict.
Okay. Yeah.
And so if you met somebody from Ramvalli and they saw like other people fighting over resources, they'd be like, "This is ridiculous. This is nonsense. I don't understand this." And if you move to a Ramvalli community, you might find them interviewing you and asking you, "Hey, what skills do you bring to us as a community that we should allow you to live here? And what skills are you willing to learn from other skilled people in the community?"
I like it.
So they're very much about building up and working together as their whole society.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Melingar. And Melingar has been the hands-down favorite of everybody I've talked to about it. So,
Hit me.
all right.
I'm ready.
We'll see. We'll see if it comes across again. The Melingar Empire is a society that heavily, heavily, heavily venerates their ancestors. To the point where most Melingar households have spirit advisors, which are the ghosts, the spirits of dead ancestors that live in the home with them, providing counsel and assistance as they go.
Mm-hmm.
Because of this, Melingar Empire has a very specific group of people called nurse mediums. They're kind of a necromantic midwife. They're trained by each other. Their task is to summon, care for, and counsel spirit advisors in the homes of the people of Melingar. So there's a lot of maintenance that comes with having your own in-house ghost. So
I figure, yeah.
right? And it is their job to ensure that these spirits are properly cared for, that they're not being neglected, and in extreme cases where the spirits begin to lose themselves, because if a spirit is mistreated or if a spirit is in bad environment for too long, it can become a malevolent spirit, it can become a bad ghost, like a specter or a wraith, and then it is incumbent upon nurse mediums to exorcise those. And send them off to whatever afterlife. It's generally a very solemn occasion. They take no joy in it. It's probably the darkest part of their job for them. But it's necessary to prevent further harm. And it's sad because it represents a loss of knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like if you're having to put down like I don't know, like a ravenous animal or something like that at that point. Like it's you don't really want to, but it might be the only way.
Right.
I like that.
And the Melingar Empire is a constitutional monarchy, so they have a prime minister and a empress. Their empress is a young dwarven girl. Her father was killed in war with Saskatoon and continues to assist her and counsel her. But she's still young, shy, inexperienced. She has difficulty speaking her mind, and she's kind of growing into her new role. The prime minister is a halfling by the name of Gabriel Larange, and he's a career politician. His father used to own a mine, and he's very charming, very well-spoken. He's kind of rocketed to the top of the political scene. He believes that the Melingar Empire deserves a larger position on the world stage. He believes that it's time for them to become one of the great empires. He's a bit of a oddity because he has no spirit advisor. And he argues to his detractors that it means that he's always looking forward.
There's totally something fishy with that.
Right? This is like sketch. The sketchy. So those are my empires. That's the start.
I like them. I like that they're really varied.
Yeah, I wanted to make them all feel kind of different without, like, I didn't want too many specific historical allusions other than with the British.
Yeah.
So let me tell you about the Treasured Expanse. new land. So,
So this is the expanse that everybody's starting to fight for.
yeah, this is the expanse everybody's starting to fight for. The two big players in this place are Kaligarn and Saskatoon. They have kind of a joint settlement agreement for the land that allow them both to have strongholds there, and then they manage who can come there from the other empires. So you don't see as many people from the other empires, but they're still able to come over. And there are some like diplomatic visits and that kind of thing throughout. But the campaign's going to take place 15 years after the discovery and settlement of the continent. In those 15 years, they learned some crazy things about this place. Number one, there is no civilization of any kind in the Treasured Expanse. They have not found anyone else living there that wasn't a monster or an elemental or some kind of really primitive creature like a troll or an ogre.
All right.
So they've found like no signs of any civilization. During the first few winters, they discovered, number one, Treasured Expanse has incredibly difficult winters to deal with. They can be quite long and difficult to survive.
Alberta.
Yes. You know.
Yeah, I know.
And also, after the first winter came, they found that all settlements that were north of flowing water, all the residents had vanished over the course of the winter.
Ooh.
And over the years, they learned that after winter hits, if you are north of flowing water, you disappear.
Damn. Okay.
Nobody knows what happens to these people.
I love me good mystery.
Everybody they send across to try and figure it out doesn't come back. There's generally not any signs. There's no bodies. A lot of times the settlements are destroyed. But there's no blood, there's no bodies, there's no clear indication of what happens to them. Yeah.
I like it. I like that. So why, I have to of course ask, why does this landscape look like Swiss cheese?
That's a very good question. I can't tell you. Because we're streaming.
Okay, fair enough.
But there is a reason for that. And I'm glad that you asked the question, because it means I did it right.
Well, it's definitely like, oh, this is a nice place, but there's a kind of an elephant in the room, you know?
There's this elephant here. What's this elephant about? Yeah, so that's the kind of idea behind it. So a lot of it is centered around this idea that when winter comes, they call winter last light. So everybody's always preparing for when winter comes. When winter does arrive, there's kind of a mad dash to get south of flowing water, because there is a lot of stuff north of flowing water that they want to get. There's precious resources. There's bountiful natural pools of fish and all kinds of things. So there's still expeditions that go up in the off seasons. But as soon as last light comes, people are running back. The Ghostlands represents the areas, because this was kind of the first settled section, this area known as the New Haven Plains. The Ghostlands is full of the abandoned kind of first few years settlements that came into this place.
Like the ones that were like vanished.
Yeah, the ones that were disappeared. So there's a lot of places out there. And I've established, because I've had a couple people join me for a paid game where I'm kind of playtesting this. And what I've established there is that the riverfront towns here will a lot of times have missions for adventurers to go into the Ghostlands and recover like family heirlooms or treasured items that would be left behind in these settlements.
Totally. I mean, this is like, it almost feels like looters in Fallout, you know, like, yeah, they're just going across the wasteland knowing it's super damn dangerous, but there's some goodies.
There's some stuff out there. That's where you get the prizes, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the world in a nutshell. Oh, the other thing is they haven't found any civilization, but through settling and excavating this place, people keep finding these vaults. Just
Speaking
kind
of Fallout.
speaking of Fallout, they keep finding these enclosed locations. A lot of times they're no more than like crumbling old tunnels or formations, but they're full of treasures and magical items.
Are they like burial grounds? Like, is there bodies?
There are no bodies. They just seem to be like hordes, but they can't find any evidence of anybody who lived there. So there's a bit of a mad dash to find those as well.
Do you have you already figured out what it's gonna be? What's hoarding those things? Something you can share, or is that secret?
I could share it, but not while we're on stream.
Fair enough.
I got to be careful what I say.
Yeah, fair, totally fair. I'm curious. So.
Oh no, absolutely.
But,
Like I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some stuff going on with that.
So Fort Saddleguard, is it like protecting? Because it's kind of like at a tight spot. Is it trying to like act as a bit of a what would you say, like a border from controlling who goes in and out of this region?
Yeah, so Fort Saddleguard is kind of the last line of defense. The reason that is there, let me show you, is because where's my settlement map? There we go.
I envy your maps.
Oh, it's a bit of work in, but I'm trying to get everything organized into World Anvil now. But so
Nice.
Fort Saddleguard is the last line of defense. What both Saskatoon and Kaligarn settled in this area known as the Barrier Mountains region. The Barrier Mountains seem to act as a buffer, where the rules of Last Light seem to no longer apply in this specific area. Whatever it is that's causing the disappearances, these mountains seem to block it.
All right.
So, because of the way the land is formed, there's only a short pocket to come in and out. So Fort Saddleguard was established as a joint military venture between the two empires as kind of a last line of defense for this crucial landing point.
Man, I'm just looking at that bridge and all I can see is just tension. Like, I know there's a treaty and I know they're working together, but you can't tell me there's some hella big tension
Oh.
of who's in charge of that bridge. Whether it's to say like who's paying for it, or whether it's just like who's collecting the toll. Like, God, I can just feel all that tension there.
Tons of tension. Look, if you're coming up from Pride's Reach, going to Promethean Point, you know, at the Kaligarn checkpoint, they're going to be like, so are you from Saskatoon? And
Yeah.
depending on your answer, the cost is going to go up to cross that
Yeah.
bridge.
Exactly.
Like,
Are we adding an extra digit on?
yeah. Like, how's this going to go down? It's 100% how they operate. And in fact, I made the leader of Promethean Point. He's got your name.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which wasn't completely intentional, but I'll take it. But his name is Felix Brinesale. He is a Triton. He used to reside in the Saskatoon Empire, but when everything was shaking out in the settlement of the new territory, he defected to Kaligarn to establish a shipping company that would operate as the primary port for the Kaligarn Empire out of the Treasured Expanse. And that landed him a seat on the council.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
it
would.
became such an instantly profitable venture.
Yeah, and I mean, God, as a Triton, he just has so much like control over that too. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Or Merfolk.
So
Which one was it, Triton or Merfolk?
Triton.
Triton. Yeah.
Yeah, so he was all in on that, and he's just loving it. So I picture this guy as like a Silicon Valley business bro, like very much like.
Hey, dudes, you want some ships?
Yeah, you
We got ships.
bro. I'm shipping so much stuff out of this port. You don't even know.
We got next generation ships.
I got freights for days, bro.
Mhm.
So that's how this guy is, and I actually made his sister the admiral of the Saskatoon Navy.
Once again, tension.
Yeah, right. That's just
Oh, did
Oh.
the siblings fight again? No shipments going out today, boys.
right. I love that tension throughout. Another fun thing that I did with this guy is actually in Haven's Reach, or New Haven Plains. I gotta remember what I call these things. I made Haven Gate is actually a Kaligarn town. It was a gnome that established that place, and he established it to create a riverboat shipping company. And he kind of, through a series of bribes and knowing the right people, snatched that position out from under Felix Brinesail in Promethean Point. So they hate each other. But they need each other, because without each other, they can't run their businesses. So there's a lot of delayed shipments back and forth between the two of them. They're always trading barbs and stuff, but there's this tension that exists between these two guys as well.
Nice. Oh man, I love throwing like a good wrench into shit.
Oh, it's tons of fun stuff. But yeah, that's my world. That's the broad strokes anyways. What do you think?
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, I can just, by hearing like the summary of everything and like just looking at some of the maps, I just immediately see just like, oh yeah, they would fight, they would hate each other, and they would love each other. Like, there's just so much potential to really play within it. And I also really enjoy that all your kingdoms are really different from one another, because, I mean, that's just like, well, not humanity, what you call it, D&D?
Yeah.
Humanoidity? I don't know. But like, it's
Humanoidity.
people. You have different visions and different ideals, and it's instantly going to be conflict. I love that.
Absolutely. Oh, and that was the other thing.
And I love it when, when you have different societies like that. They can hate each other and say that each of the other is wrong, but each of them is also right. Like, this society, for example, like Society A, would be totally justified to say, like, yeah, you guys over there, you're doing it wrong, you're evil or something.
Right.
And the other side says that about, side A, and both of them are perfectly justified. So you don't have any bad guys.
Yeah, everybody's
really like
just
that.
kind of living their life. Like, I wanted very much the territory to be the enemy in this campaign. Like, the environment is the antagonist. But so I've been working on, and I talked to Dingo a little bit about this actually the other day. So I think the reason, oh right, there was one other thing I wanted to tell you about too. I'm jumping all over the place. All right, so the Melingar Empire is actually, the nurse mediums are trying to solve a mystery in the Treasured Expanse.
Oh yes, because they're my favorite too so far.
The nurse mediums are trying to figure out why there are no ghosts in the Treasured Expanse. When the first nurse mediums came to the Treasured Expanse, there were no ghosts. And that doesn't make any sense to them, because people die everywhere.
Yeah.
But they can't find any. And they find the entire prospect very disturbing. Anybody who has moved from the Melingar Empire to the Treasured Expanse has taken a spiritual advisor with them. And a lot of times they have to take a nurse medium, because you need somebody to care for grandpa or whatever. Right? So, but yeah, they can't figure out why that is, and they find the entire concept very disturbing.
I like that. I mean, I guess, again, you can't tell me why.
Now, I can't tell you why, but it's all tied together.
I see the hints. I see the hints dropping of how this is absolutely tied together.
This thing's linked. But what I've been doing, so there's two things that I'm working on right now. One of my commenters brought up an incredible point. They asked me about elves in my world, and I had just kind of conceived as all of my empires as these multicultural societies, all races, whatever. But I didn't really think about so much the individual races and their own histories and how they fit into the empires. I didn't consider that stuff. I didn't think about it. So when they asked me about elves, I'm like, yeah, sure, there's elves. And it's like, can you talk about them? No. So I was like, that's a problem. So two things that I'm working on right now. Number one is I want to expand my details for the other empires, because it's occurred to me, part of the reason everybody likes Melingar is probably one of my most fleshed out empires so far. So I've done the other ones a bit broader, so I need to bring them up to code a little bit. And what I would actually love to do with them is to type up like a description of them, like somebody's narrating a description of their home, and then get a couple people to record reading that description while I make like a preview video of it before the stream.
Oh, totally.
And then it's just like to introduce everybody to the empires and stuff. I was actually talking to Dingo about that because I'd love to get her to do one. I don't know which one yet, but
I'm just picturing like in the trailer voice, like
Yeah.
this Friday we explore the
This
Saskatoon
Friday.
Empire.
This Friday in the Saskatoon Empire. I hope you like tractor pulls. It's all tractor pulls all the time. But yeah, so I've been trying to flesh those out, and I've been trying to think more about how each of the individual races came to live in this place and what their individual histories are and how they fit into the broader scheme.
It's funny because I, like, just a couple weeks ago, I actually did that for the Fool's Gold book as well.
Yeah, see, and this is what occurred to me, because Felix, you and I imagine, because when you built Fool's Gold, if I may derive some things from the conversations we've had, you built a lot of this stuff. Part of it was fleshed out, and part of it was done on the fly, correct?
Yeah, I mean, generally when I made the world the first time, I do a lot of improv.
Right.
And then the stuff they interacted with was the most fleshed out, and stuff that they maybe didn't even interact with, I would actually have to go in and add quite a bit to actually get the book finished.
Right, because it was informed, the creation of those things were informed by the players' interactions with them.
Mm-hmm.
See, and I do things like that the same way. So I'm trying to think a couple steps ahead for myself, because what I would love for this is for this to be a thing where as I'm building it, people can go through and kind of experience the world, have the full world anvil experience with it and stuff. And, maybe follow along or start their own campaigns or come up with their own canons for it as they go.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get out ahead of it a little bit and think about all those pieces that I would normally just leave until my players rubbed up against it and changed it.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I always work with like a nice baseline. I think about like the basics, like, okay, what's this place look like? How does it tick? Import,
Right.
export. And then how do the people feel about it? And how does it function?
Yeah.
And just kind of the basics. And the rest can be, that's filled in by the DM at that point.
Absolutely.
And, like, thinking about the races was fun because I actually had the exact same view as you. I was just like, how do I feel about races and Fool's Gold? And I very early decided, I'm just like, nobody cares about races here because people
Right.
just care about survival more than appearance.
Absolutely.
But then the editors came to me and they were just like, hey, we can do that for the jungle. That's cool, no problem. But you kind of have a whole world, and that's unlikely, given D&D, that there would be this complete mix everywhere. And they were right. I thought about it. And it's like, absolutely.
Yeah, you
There's
gotta sort that stuff out. Like, I didn't think about
gotta
that
be
stuff on my
some
first
quirks,
pass
and
either.
like I'll like leak a little bit. Like one funny thing I did that I'd love to share, because you brought up that you have this one region that's really like industrious.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in my world, I completely flipped the elves on their head, that they were actually betrayed by the goddess of nature one day. So they're completely in the camp of fuck nature. We're going to be the most industrious elves and exploit nature for all its resources as hard as we possibly can.
I love that flip, though. I love that flip. I love the idea of like industry elves and like forest dwarves.
Yeah.
Just flip it
I
all over.
I moved the forest to somewhere else, which I won't leak. But yeah, the elves are just like they're totally like the coal mine owners and like profiteers and stuff like that. It's all the elves because they're just fueled by spite for the goddess of nature.
In my first 5e campaign that I did, I actually made a town that was basically like built into a mountain, and I had mountain elves that lived this opulent society, and there was this crack running through the center of their mountain town, and it was just a huge fissure full of gems, and people would descend down the sides of it and mine the gems and come up, and that was the whole industry of the town. But
Nice. I love that.
I love the idea of mountain oh, Felix, you and I, we're kindred spirits.
I mean, you just look at any concept and then just
Flip it.
Okay, upside down. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Or let me just see which big wrench I have on my wall that I can throw into that.
Oh, that was another interesting thing. So I decided that this place has company fae. So the way that works is all of the different corporations in these different empires are all looking to get an edge in the Treasured Expanse. It's unexplored territory. Nobody knows anything about it. The thinking is, well, the Fey realm doesn't have any borders. So we'll reach out to Fey creatures to be guides and advisors in this new land.
Mm-hmm.
So when a Fey makes a contract with a corporation, they're called a company Fey. And they have this kind of high position within the company. They're given a lot of funding. They're given a lot of perks. But a lot of it is contingent on results. And it's still inconclusive how much the company Fae actually know about the Treasured Expanse. There's been some success and some failures.
Yes, I'm an executive Fae.
Yeah. Because they're, they're tricky by nature and all that kind of thing. So it's just this
perfect
thing.
for the business world.
Absolutely. And the Scale Lands is a land ruled by dragons. It's kind of the no man's land. Rumor has it the Empire's reclaimed the land that they have from the dragons at some point. But if you're going to the Scale Lands, maybe don't expect to come back. Yeah. Unless you're hardy adventuring folk. Segrindel, I have no idea. But somebody came up with a really good idea for Segrindel, because I was asking them, I said, I don't know what to do with this place. It was Kai, who is also looking to run a game who is the one who's looking to run a game with us in the fall, and is running a game with us in the fall. Kai said, well, whatever's in Segrindel, it's what dragons are afraid of. And I was like,
true.
Damn. Yeah.
Why else would they draw a border? Yeah.
Right, exactly. Why wouldn't that just also be the Scale Lands if that weren't the case?
Mm-hmm.
That makes an excellent point. Yeah, so
you could also make like one or two races specific that can go freely through the Scale Lands. Like, for example, if Dragonborn are really cool with dragons, then they could traverse those lands no problem, which would really, in one way, like piss off the other races because they're not allowed to do it, but at the same time, probably make Dragonborn really rich because they're the only ones that can transport anything through there.
I did put into here that there was like a kind of mystique around Dragonborn because nobody really knows if they're cool with the Scale Lands or not. A lot of people kind of assume it. So actually, it was the only like piece of like lore phrase that I came up with was that when you insult a Dragonborn, the Scale Lands quake. And it's supposed to be a common phrase that means watch what you say. So I thought that'd be an interesting thing. But that's a fun take on that as well. I like that. As guides and that kind of thing.
That's why it like really helps to think about all those races, because you think about all these little these nuggets. Where do they fit in? Or what's a little weird quirk that's involving the politics in the world? And if you build out the races, I would also build out all of the biggest corporations if you haven't done that yet.
Oh, for sure. Well, I did build the corporations on the Golden Satchel, and I did build the largest corporation in Saskatoon, which is the Royal Saskatoon Trading Company, which is like a Hudson's Bay or a East India Trading Company, kind of thing. But the Golden Satchel, man, do you want to hear about these? I had a great time. Bees helped me build these.
Hit me up.
Let's get our Golden Satchel members. Where are they? I'm going to put a stave on this.
Also, Dingo is actually ready to hop in if you want to add her to call.
Sure.
Let me warn her.
Let me just bring Dingo in.
Yeah, can I do that? I think I can, right?
I think we can.
Oh, let's see. Oh, yeah, there we go. And... oh, it stopped the screen share,
Oh,
but...
that's okay. I can fire that up again.
There he is.
Hello.
Well, by the way, just so you know,
we're live already. How's it going, Dingo?
Good. Let me just make sure all my buttons and things are in order. You guys can hear me okay?
Oh, absolutely.
we can hear you.
Okay, then we're good.
We just need the screen share back from Puck, and then we're good to go.
Oh, yeah. Let me pull it up.
What?
There we go. Haha. So I can show you what I'm talking about.
We were just about to talk about, like, the members of the
Golden Satchel. Yeah. Which
What does the golden satchel do?
the Golden Satchel is the governing body of the Kaligarn Empire, which is kind of like very hardcore corporate free market, kind of like BioShock.
Oh, okay.
And so it's a collection of corporations that rule Kaligarn. And it's actually Bees helped me come up with these people. So let me go over them with you. So the Golden Satchel members. The leader of the Ram's Head, the kind of standing military and navy portion of Kaligarn's military contractor army, is Herbert C. Ramathorn, a stubborn and pompous dwarf. I don't have anything else about him. That's who he is. Felix Bryansale, the Triton, operates Bryansale Shipping Company out of the Treasured Expanse. So he got his seat through that and the establishment of the new continent. He set up the first shipping company there and kind of locked down his monopoly there, and that rocketed him to the top. He's the newest council member.
Felix name, strong name, powerful name.
Absolutely. And I don't know where I got the inspiration for it. To be
Yeah.
honest. It could have come from anybody. This one was a lot of fun. On the domestic portion of things, we have a Haragon female, so like a rabbit folk lady named Granny Nibbles.
Yay.
Her full name is Gretchen Nibbles, and her company is started with Granny's Little Nibbles Baking Company, and she's kind of like Mom from Futurama.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
is how we were thinking about her, but I was like, I love this concept. That's too good not to use.
Buy my goods.
It's
Children.
yeah, exactly. So she's all like groceries and like domestic. There's like Granny Nibbles fashion. There's like Granny Nibbles houseware. All that kind of stuff. On the industrial end of things, we actually have a Warforged who is like kind of like Ultron. He constantly makes new bodies for himself, like all over the place. He's been assassinated several times, but they like never get the right one.
Oh god, he's got like a phylactery almost.
Yeah, like they're never sure which body his consciousness is actually residing in, so it's a little bit of a mystery. But
Sick.
his name is Degris Fahrenheit. And he's very mysterious and quiet, but he's very secure in his position. In fact, some of the factories are just like giant versions of his body that produce things. So, very industrious fellow. And the banking is a Kenku, who's actually a dragon. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Hell yeah.
But he operates the oldest council member since the founding of Kaligarn. It is known as Kaligrant Financial Trust Bank. Operates financing, loans, banking, trade, all kind of financial
All your
shenanigans.
gold needs.
I really want to know his involvement with the Scale Lands.
Oh, you know, I've been thinking about that. We could probably talk about it a little bit. But in a second, because the last one is like innovation and invention. This is the science person. And we actually couldn't figure out what we wanted to do with this one. But we wanted them to be like a young kid, a scrappy up-and-comer, but we wanted them to be something really weird. So Bees was like mind flayers or like a knoll or something weird. And I was like, what about a shard mind?
What is a shard?
See, Bees didn't know either, and I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah.
Because I am so happy to show you. Shard mines were used in 4th edition, which is probably why nobody knows about them. But they are creatures that are just like a loose collection of crystals held together by a psychic mind.
Nice.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. What?
They're just like a collection of crystals that takes on a humanoid form
That's wild.
that is psychic.
Huh.
They're the coolest shit in the world, and I love them. People made fan art of like shard mines and stuff. It's so great. So I thought it'd be really cool if that person was like a shard mind. and they would just like rattle around as like a loose collection of crystals.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, definitely. I also was thinking, like, if you wanted to do a science person, just have somebody who's like just has done too many experiments and you really don't know what they are anymore.
Like maybe they weren't always a shard mind. Maybe they used to be something else and they did an experiment and now their consciousness resides in this collection of magical crystals.
Well, and also it makes sense because they were just like, my body is fleshy and I will die, you know, so easily. So why don't I try to put my consciousness into something, you know, more durable?
I need an ageless form.
Yeah.
I need a form that will last the test of time.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm technically 18.
Yeah, right? That's classic anime trope.
Yeah, yeah. Just so you know.
I'm technically 18, but I've been surviving for millions of years because I'm made of crystals.
Yeah. And that would also be interesting because they would probably keep upgrading their body to harder, more durable crystal.
Right? And there's just stuff that happens around them, like they'll shift into different configurations for certain things.
Yeah, or yeah, for their experiments and their like building stuff. Yeah, I could totally see that. It'd be pretty cool.
All right. What do I want to call this character? I think we never came up with a name for this one.
Man, names are always like the worst for me.
Right? Me too. Look, I think the three of us together, maybe we can do it.
Come up with one. Yeah.
What should we call
Sir
our...
Crystal Shardington.
No. Shardington? No!
Not to be confused with Shartington.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, Felix.
This is my naming process.
I love it.
Yeah.
Sir Crystal... No, can't...
No.
I gotta run away from that one, okay?
I gotta bring out my trusty Latin alphabet.
You know what it is? Because this is like, if you're going for like a teenager-ish,
Right.
like 17, 19, or 18, probably when they got their new body, they named themselves. So you gotta think of what an 18-year-old would name themselves. And then you would also have it like maybe their real name is somewhere, but they never really liked their real name. Like it was like William or something, and they're like, I hate Will. You know, it's just like I hated being called William. You know, so it's just like they just decided to change their name because they were just like, I'm a new body. It's a new me.
There's also Vitreous, which is kind of a cool name for a glass
Vitreous.
or crystal.
Or Vit. What do you call them? Vit?
Vit?
Like Vit.
What do you guys think of this? Because I looked up the names of gem cuts. And there's one called Trillant. And it's
you
like
could do
a...
Vit Trillant.
Vitrillant.
Yeah. Vit
Ooh, that has like multiple levels.
Yeah, because it also sounds like
I like
ventriloquist.
Ventriloquist, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, it does sound.
Vitrillant.
Well, I thought of his first name as Vit, and then his last name.
Oh, I like it.
But I mean, you don't have to if you don't want to. But I think
I'm down with it.
That's nice and short and sweet, and like.
I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
like,
Yeah.
My name's Vit.
Name's Vit. Yeah, it's cool.
Yo, my name's Vitrillant.
Yeah. Vit Trillant.
Unfortunately, I gotta bow out right now because I got a meeting to get to.
Very
But,
well.
I love your world.
Thank you
and I
so
hope
much. I
you keep
appreciate
working on
you
it, and I
coming
wanna-
by and seeing it, man. I'm so happy to hear your opinions on it.
Yeah, I want to definitely keep hearing about it. Maybe I'll hop on again sometime.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, bye guys.
Take care. Enjoy your
Bye.
meeting.
Yo.
Eat.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Eat.
Eat food.
Yeah, eat food. Damn it.
Yeah.
I, like made dinner
What'd you make?
before this.
What'd you make? What'd you make?
I actually did leftovers, but I made like a homemade rosé sauce and like gluten-free pasta and chicken and broccoli. So
Damn,
good
Dingo.
stuff. And I'm like
That's like
experimenting.
fancy. That's
I'm experimenting a bit. I love cooking actually. I've really started to really love it.
that's amazing. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome. I'm getting hungry.
Did you eat yet?
No. I don't.
What?
Okay, I have a problem. I don't ever eat before a stream. But I always do my streams
the
like
nerves?
evening-ish. Not even nerves. It's just like I'm not done doing what I need to do that day.
Right. And
when
then you
I
gotta hop on screen.
right, like I need to. For me, eating is something that I do when I'm done with everything else for the day.
Kind of like your reward or your
Yeah.
top up.
Yeah, like I sit down, it's calm and easygoing time, and I'm eat the food and away I go.
Yeah.
Usually,
Decompress the rest of the day.
yeah, watch some shows or a cool YouTuber that I know, or and then we just decompress for the day and let it go. But yeah, that's it.
That's like me with cooking. Like cooking is my kind of decompression.
Yeah. Do you know what I started doing when I cook? My friend Sarah, who played on the show, she was like, "Sean, you got to listen to this podcast. It's called Fuckface." I'm like, "What?"
I've never heard of it.
Apparently, it's a Rooster Teeth podcast.
Oh, cool.
So I started to listen to it, and I got hooked. I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm on board." But it's just the three guys being idiots and talking about dumb things that they do to themselves in their daily lives. And I'm kind of all about it.
Like fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
that sounds like fun.
It was kind of neat. It's kind of a lot of fun. So I've been listening to that while I cook. It's been quite the experience. Really makes it just breeze by. But anyway, Dingo, I got you here. I feel like I can't waste this opportunity. So, I talked to you a little bit about the scripts I wanted to do. Right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
They're about this.
Oh, I see. So like narration over top of a section.
Yeah. So specifically, so this world has 4 different empires that kind of make it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to do a description of each of the empires from the perspective of somebody who lives there.
Oh.
And then have them read that out as an introduction to each of the places. So
That's rad. That's really cool.
I'd love to go through them with you, if you like.
Yeah, sure. Don't ask me to read it out.
No, I ain't gonna.
Live,
I ain't gonna ask you to read nothing out. I'll do all the reading today. You just tell me what you think.
Okay, 'cause I'm terrible at reading out loud, on the spot. I just mess it up. I can't read.
I hear you. I'm terrible at it, and you know what it is? It's like the ADD brain. If I gotta read and do anything else, it's not gonna work. Something's gonna come. The wheels are gonna come off real quick.
Yeah, mine's I have really bad dyslexia and really bad. There's another version.
Me too.
Of
I've got they told me I had dyslexia and dysgraphia all my life.
That's it. Yeah. So I have both. Yeah, I have the both. So it's just cool. So also, can I not read?
Yeah, right.
But also, I put in words that aren't even there.
Right, because you're thinking ahead of things and you're adding the words that you would say to it while you're reading it.
Or even just words that make no sense. Of
right.
Just the word is emergency, and for some reason I go exaggerate or extinct, and I'm like, what? Why?
What up, brain? What are you doing?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Brain, why you gotta do me dirty like that?
It's just so ironic that it's just and then I became a writer. It's just fun.
Right?
Yeah. It's I guess.
This is why I talk for most of my living, is because the rest of the stuff is not so good for me. But the talking part, I'm real good at that. I could do that for days.
Yeah.
But let me talk to you about these empires. So we talked about Kaligarn a little bit. This is what I actually started the script for Kaligarn, because it occurred to me that I've had a lot of people come on and show them this world that I've been creating. And everybody loves the Melingar Empire, and I think part of the reason behind that is I haven't digged into the other ones as deeply. So I want to kind of go back and do that when I'm making these scripts. So this is what I think is going to be the start for the Kaligarn script. You tell me what you think so far. All right. Sure. The Kaligarn Empire. I'm going to do the voice. If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And that's what they say. Founded after a group of businesses were banished from the Saskatoon Empire after coming into conflict with the royal governance. The exact nature of the dispute remains lost to time. If you ask a Kaligarn historian, they would say that brave entrepreneurs shed the chains of royal oppression to establish a utopia where the market is the only guiding force. If you ask a Saskatoon historian, well, they might say differently. Either way, The creation of the Golden Satchel, the ruling corporations of the Kaligarn Empire. Oh, wait. Either way, this was the creation. See? Right? This was the creation of the Golden Satchel. The ruling corporations of the Kaligarn Empire. No kings would rule this land, only the market, only the free exchange of coin, ideas, and industry. A testament to this philosophy, the seated members of the Golden Satchel have changed many times over the years. However, one seat has always remained the same. The largest and most powerful corporation in Kaligarn, the Kaligarn Financial Trust Bank. Loans, stock, currency exchange, and banking solidify them as the strongest financial presence in the empire. They crush competitors ruthlessly, and their mastery of financial markets in Kaligarn has made them the closest thing the empire has to a religious institution. Coin is everything in Kaligarn. Everyone wants it, and those who have it only want to make more. Always looking for the next big idea or business investment, corporate centers have become havens for con artists, dreamers, and innovators. People looking for their next big break. Everyone you meet in Kaligarn is just working their job until the next big idea gets off the ground. However, beneath the Empire's hopeful message of open market opportunity, there is a dark network of spies, thieves, and ruthless business people seeking to hold on to their positions in power. By siphoning ideas, talent, money, and occasionally lives from the less fortunate or naive. So while ambitious young entrepreneurs come to Kaligarn dreaming of unrestricted system of business, they soon realize that the same freedom that leaves them open to leaves them open to attack from more powerful companies. And that's all I have. I'll go into a little bit of a description, but I want to refine that a little more.
That's cool. Yeah, I could totally see I can see how you can build like really cool characters with that world.
I'm thinking that's
And
like
just, like,
real steampunky.
Yeah, and also just like people who specialize in certain things.
A lot of mad scientists.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely mad scientists.
Mad scientists everywhere.
Absolutely. Or like a wild magic merchant.
Right? Or a wild magic merchant.
Yeah.
Bring it back
Yeah,
home.
we need more wild magic in games.
Absolutely. I do love that wild magic. I want to play with some wild magic stuff for the new world as well. So the conceit of the new world. I'll give you this as well. So they discovered this new continent. It's kind of a race between Kaligarn and Saskatoon to get their piece of it while they hold an uneasy peace with each other. And then the other empires are still able to come in as they go. But harsh winters in this place. You know, very Canada. And they found out in the first few winters when they came here, when winter comes, anyone who is north of flowing water disappears. And they don't know why it happens. There's no bodies, there's no blood. They just vanish over the course of the winter. Anytime they send anybody to go investigate during winter, if they go into the blowing snowy winds of last light, they call winter here, they just never come back. And they can't figure out what's doing it, so they've just kind of decided to work around it.
Yeah. We're gonna wall this off and we're gonna
Yeah, they're like, if we're gonna go there, we're just gonna go there in the spring and the fall. But last light is tricky. You never know when it's gonna arrive. Sometimes it arrives early, sometimes it arrives late. So there's still some people that get caught up there from time to time, searching for treasure or what have you.
Does it have like wildlife up there at all?
Oh yeah,
Or
like
is it
there's
always barren?
creatures. There's creatures and stuff. There's all kinds of horrific creatures. I actually wanted to create like a bunch of, you know how like Pokemon started having the like different forms for different regions?
Yes.
I want to do that with a bunch of different like D&D monsters for this place.
Ooh, yeah.
So one idea I had was, you know what a bullet is?
What do you mean, like a
like
bullet?
the creature bullet, like a
Oh,
land shark.
Yeah, I think so. Like, but show me anyway, 'cause probably like.
Yeah, these guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those guys. Yeah.
So
We were just. I remember when we saw that the first time. Somebody was like, "Oh, that's like a shark hound," and I was like, "Oh my god, it totally is. That's just straight up a shark hound. Holy shit!"
it's a shark hound. It's a land shark hound.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was like, okay, what if I had these guys for like a cold climate?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, we have these guys, and like the front plate of their head gets really hot, so that loosens the cold soil and the frozen soil in front of them. But that causes these like plumes of steam whenever they travel underground. So these ones are called bullet steamers.
I see.
So when they're coming at you, it's like, poof, 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 poof. So that'd be neat.
So, yeah, because then creatures up in that region don't go missing during the winter.
No, creatures seem to be fine. It's just humanoids.
Interesting.
Yeah. The humanoids go missing if they are north of flowing water at last light.
You know, I could see it where people, they start making that almost like a region of, like sentencing. Like,
Ooh.
you broke a law, go north. Like,
Get out of
into
here.
the winter. Yeah, into the winter. It's just like, this is your, punishment, is that you go into this region.
I like that.
So,
I like that as an idea. Because I decided, because I'm playing this world a little bit. I have a paid game that I have a couple people subscribed to that I'm running kind of a play test of this before we do the show of it in the fall.
Yeah.
And I instituted a cult, as you do.
Yeah.
So
As it comes.
I put this cult out there that has decided that the reason the winters are harsh and the reason that people disappear is because there's some being or creature that lives up there, and that's its domain. And you can curry favor with it by leaving sacrifices up in the north. And it will favor you by giving you a lighter winter.
Oh, I see. Like, yeah, and I can also see it where like the real crazy ones are just like true passage is them going up there
Oh yeah,
and like during winter and being like they will accept me. And
they
then,
are
like,
ascended.
Yeah, it's just like that is your ascension, is that you go during the winter and it's like it's your ascension season, and then it's like you get to go.
Yeah, right.
So yeah,
You go
that
across
totally
the-
is very culty.
Right, and I wasn't sure what to call it, but currently it is the cult of the Blizzard Queen, which I don't know if I love that because it makes me think of Dairy Queen.
Oh, I just said that. Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll probably change it. I don't know. What do you think?
Let me think. I like it, but yeah, I wonder if you could try something else, like the frosted claw, or like
Ooh, the Frosted Claw.
or the yeah, like the frosted grip. Or I'm thinking hands for some reason.
Hey, look. I mean, you know, we all got hands.
Yeah, well, and I also think of like being taken away, you know, just like,
The cult of the Frozen Reach.
the frozen reach, or well, I guess if they're talking about like a beast or something, I guess, do they like what kind of beast?
They
do
tend
believe?
to characterize it as a lady.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So they don't know specifically. Like it's a lot of just like, let's make a religion. Like it's
yeah.
something mysterious is happening. Let's make a thing to explain
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, or like, no. Yeah, like the Ice Mother, but I guess that's a little bit too close to like the mother from Skyrim. I can't remember her name. From
Right.
that other cult.
Yeah. There's like ice mothers and ice ladies, and like even there's like a rhyme of the Frost Maiden and stuff. And I was like, there's a lot of tread ground here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Or like the Cold Embrace.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Oh.
The cult of the Cold Embrace?
Embrace?
Yeah, let's just go Cult of the Cold Embrace.
They like cold hugs.
Yeah,
That's
they
really
like
what it is.
cold hugs. They
Yeah.
they offer people up to be embraced by the Frost Mistress.
Yep.
And
That's why they go and ascend.
yeah, and they ascend. And if the Frost Mistress is pleased with the offering, she will not be as harsh on them when the winter comes.
Hmm.
So good. I like that. Cult of the Cold Embrace. I think I'm probably going to go with that one.
Cool.
But anyways, I wanted to build some more detailed histories while I'm going off on every tangent available. So I feel like I've got the details a little bit built up better for Kaligarn than they used to be. I used to be just like big corporations. They're very corporate, free market. It's Bioshock to the extreme, but like Magic
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
Oh, and I need to tell you about the other two. Okay, pause, reset. Here we go. So, the other two empires. Ramvalli is an empire that was, legend has it, was founded by a group of tieflings that escaped the Hells and defeated their archdevil overlord and founded a new kingdom for themselves. They're very much about community. They're not really into kings or leaders or any of that kind of thing. They're governed by a community council of swapping out community leaders that get together and agree on matters of state. They do have a king, but that king is more of a ceremonial role. The legend has it the king is descended from the leader who helped lead them out of the Hells.
So it's kind of like Greek.
Yeah, kind of like
Spell it
that.
out.
Yeah, kind of like that, where it's like if something gets really bad, they'll give the king more power and like conflict and that kind of thing.
Okay.
But they're very much about community. Like if you move into a Ramvalli community, they're going to be like, okay, what skills do you bring to the community? How are you helping? What skills are you willing to learn? You know, how does you adding to our collective make us better? Is what they want to know about.
So that somebody coming from that region would be very much hard, would have a hard time being an individual.
Yeah, they would have a hard time being an individual, and they'd be super confused to see other people fighting over resources. Like, they wouldn't understand it.
Yeah.
To be like, what are you doing? We're working together is the best way to do things. This is fact. Like, it's...
Yeah.
That's their whole deal. Melingar, which has been my hands-down favorite of everybody across the board, I've shown it to, is an empire that heavily venerates ancestors. To the point that each family, each household in Melingar has a spirit advisor that is the ghost of an ancestor
Oh, I see.
that they keep in the house for advice and just, general help and assistance. The existence of these ghosts is upheld by a group of people known as nurse mediums. So nurse mediums are like live-in caregivers or midwives and necromancers and exorcists all put into one. They're supposed to manage, counsel, and take care of, and occasionally summon, spirit advisors. And occasionally they might have to exorcise them. But they're responsible for the care of the spirit advisors. When they have to exercise the spirit advisor, it's when something's gone terribly wrong. So if somebody hasn't cared for their spirit advisor correctly, the spirit advisor has been mistreated or put in a rough environment, there's a possibility that they will change into a malevolent spirit, like a specter or a wraith, something dangerous. And then at which point they need to be exorcised by a nurse medium. There's no joy in it for the nurse mediums. This represents a huge loss of knowledge and a failure when they have to do it, but it's something that needs to be done to uphold public safety.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so there's like, when I was thinking about the nurse mediums, I was thinking very much like old English midwives, so there was always like a midwife in every of the towns.
Yeah.
So they're like, if you're really wealthy, you might have a nurse medium for your house, and if you're not, there's like nurse mediums that service entire villages and stuff.
Would, how do they, summon them? Like, do they need an item from that individual?
That's a good question. I was thinking about how that would work. I always imagined it as a kind of form of necromancy.
Yeah.
Where they would be able, like, maybe they attend to the funerals, right?
Mm.
And it's like when an elder in a family passes away, they attend the funeral and they raise the spirit from the body to serve as a family advisor. Maybe there's a ritual that takes place. What do you think? I like the idea of an item, though. I think that's really cool.
I think it needs almost an item, but also like you can do it where so these ghosts they're like permanent on the space unless they get unruly or something.
They're permanent until they get unruly, but I'm also going with Coco rules. So
Coco rules? What do you mean? Oh, right.
Until everybody forgets about you and then you fade away.
Right. Yeah, because I can see it where like so like a fancy like a manor or anything, they probably have like a wall of items from ancestors that they can talk to. So they're just like, so they keep remembering them. Because they're like, this guy used to be a warlord, so we can like talk to him about war. And like, this guy used to be, like X, Y, and Z, financial advisor. And when you die, maybe it's only like the head of the household or something, because they know everything that's going on at the time. But when you die, you give the item that it's like, okay, if you want to talk to me, here's my item. No, you know?
Right.
And so that this is the thing they can channel with. But if the item is ever really like broken or destroyed, maybe you can't talk to them so easily or something like that.
Oh,
That's just a thought, though.
I love that. Okay, this actually feeds in really good to another idea that we had with this.
Okay.
And I'm ashamed to say I can't remember who came up with it. I think it was Kai. It was either Kai or Kelsey. I'm sorry, Kai and Kelsey, if you're watching. My mind is a sieve. All right. But we're talking about a black market. God, it might have been Michael too. Shit. All right. So they were talking about a black market out of Melingar of items containing spirit advisors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's totally what you could use.
Yeah.
And then people's items would get stolen all the time. Like, it would be a big issue where they were just like, yeah, they broke into our house and they just stole those items because they know that our family had, like, people who knew about treasure or something.
Right. So it's like, it's information, but I also like the idea of it potentially being, like, used for energy sources or, like, rituals and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine it like there's a black market in Kaligarn for Melingar spirit advisors to be used in, like, necromantic batteries for weapons and stuff.
Yeah, and just info in general. And
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah.
I love that.
That'd be a way to, like, cap it so that it's not so easy to just, like, yeah, summon Grandpa. You know, it's like, no, you need something, and you know, they have to also be cool with it, but yeah.
Right, and then, like, the care of those items is important as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I like that as
Yeah,
well.
because it also gives the player stakes, because you know that if that item breaks, you can't talk to that ghost again. Because it's real easy to go to a dead body and be like, alright, summon it, and then just like, who killed you? And they'll be like, yeah, it was Steve, and then you have to, alright, it was Steve, I knew it.
Damn it, Steve!
I knew it! But instead, it's like, no, you need to find their item if they even consult the, not consult, what's the word when you say okay to it?
Accept, consent.
Yeah, it's consent. That's
There
the
we
word. When you consent to it. So that could be something. Because I think it's a big deal to be like, yeah, my spirit's in this item, and you can summon it.
Love it.
After I die.
That sounds awesome. I like it. Ghost forms in the world when the item is damaged or mistreated. It affects the spirit it is linked to. Black market for stealing and selling these.
Yeah. It would also make sense, like what you were saying about them becoming malicious, is if the item was like cracked or something.
Yeah, like if it was tainted or yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Another fun thing about this is the nurse mediums have a problem. When they first started coming to the Treasured Expanse, they found there were no ghosts there.
Mm.
And that's super weird to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no ghosts there. There's no sign of any civilization in the Treasured Expanse. They haven't found anybody else that lives there since they've started settling.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been weird monsters and like creatures and like, you know, short-lived monsters that are kind of barely sentient, like trolls and ogres and stuff and harpies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just can't find anything, and it's really weird to them that there's no ghosts there because people die everywhere, and they're trying to sort that mystery out. Very few have come from the Melingar Empire to the Treasured Expanse, and the ones that do are watching very closely the effect it has on the spirit advisors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, also the government. The Empress is a young dwarf female. Her father died in a war with the Saskatoon Empire, who is kind of my British Empire stand-in. At some point, they've been at war with every other empire in the continent, and they just can't stop until they almost broke themselves, and they had to get a new empress. Who's like, okay, we're going to be peaceful now. But so she's having a hard time fitting into her role. She was thrust into it very early, so she's a bit shy, still finding her voice and figuring herself out. Her father, the previous emperor, serves her as a spirit advisor, but there's only so much he can do.
Yeah.
And she's got a bit of a problem because there's a very boisterous, fiery prime minister who I've called Gabriel Larange. He's a halfling. He's the son of a wealthy mine owner. And he is very, very well liked and very good public speaker kind of guy, very big personality. But he has no spirit advisor, which is really odd for anyone to have no spirit advisor. So they're not sure what to think of him. But he's trying to get Melingar a bigger place on the world stage. Thinks that they should have their own settlement in the Treasured Expanse, but without starting a war over it. So they're still figuring it out.
There's some cool like psychological stuff that comes with this too. Because you have to think that if you have this ability to bring out loved ones to advise, then death doesn't mean as much as it does in other regions of your world. So that, like, people might purposely be like, I got something sick. Off I go, so I can be an advisor without, feeling bad, or something like that. But I'm just saying, like, the implications are very interesting psychologically.
Good point. People in Melingar would view death as a kind of retirement.
Yeah, it's not much of a sadness as it is like, oh, okay, they just kind of, well, now they're like not feeling any pain if they were like growing old pains or something.
Right.
And now I actually can like keep Grandpa in my pocket with an item, and like I just have to pay money. So really, it's more sad if you can't afford it.
Right. So there's this easy life that comes with just like being a spirit advisor. And you're like, man, there's no pain anymore. I don't have to be an old person anymore. I just float around and be a ghost and dispense advice. I think I'm ready to retire. It's time to die. Like,
yeah. Yeah, it's just like, I chill. So it's just like, I can see where that can have a lot of implications. And also just like, your people are going to act differently around death. If anything, they're going to be like, I'm sorry to hear that, your grandpappy died. Can you afford him to come back? Like,
right. Is he going to become the family's new spirit advisor? Is he going to be like...
Yeah, when are you going to see him again?
Great Uncle Chuck has been a good spirit advisor, but I think it might be time for him to fully rest. But maybe it's time to... Maybe Grandpa's turn. Like,
that's also very interesting, because you'd also wonder if the spirit advisor would be like, no, I want to still be here.
Right.
And then there's implications of just them like being dispelled or something, and them becoming malicious because they are like, no, I want to still be here, and then that's kind of like that's interesting too. That can make a lot of plots for sure, because a ghost could actually try to keep itself a ghost, like alive,
like
in a way.
a spirit advisor, like a spirit advisor who's been secretly damaging the spirit link items of other family members before they die,
So that he's the only one.
so that he remains the only one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that idea.
Yeah, that's some good stuff.
Oh, so many hooks.
Yeah.
That's sweet stuff. All right. So that's my Melingar Empire. Saskatoon Empire, again, very honor, duty, dignity. I need to build this up a little bit more.
Do you have like, so like a lot of my world building is centered around like what the region looks like. And not just the environment, but like what do they do for like building homes? How does it like I had a town called Highbridge.
Okay.
It was literally a town that was built on this giant bridge. It was huge. It was like astronomically large, and everything in the town was large. So there was like a large bucket upside down that was like the police station, and then there was a giant like bottle that was somebody, like a hotel or something like that. Because what had happened in the region is that a wizard fucked up and accidentally did a growing potion or something.
That's
and
amazing.
It just went wild. But it was just like, it was like trees are enormous, flowers are huge, everything is just massive. But then they had to build the town on this ginormous, like, arcing wooden bridge, and they kind of hollowed it out from certain parts to, like, put, infrastructure and shit like that. And then build the actual town on top with all these other things. So that they found that were enormous. So when I think of like your regions and your places, what kind of like little thing that's interesting about it when it comes to their structure, like what's something that they would naturally gravitate towards when it comes to like how they operate?
That is an excellent point. Can you help me? Let's
I'd love
talk
to.
about that.
This is my jam. World building, I know nobody actually knows this because I don't talk about it at all, but world building is my jam, and both Felix and Bees, or Avery, are super, like, they love my world building.
they talked to, well, Bees talked about it a little bit when I had them on, but yeah, man, I'm down for it. Let's do this. So let's talk about Kaligarn. Because I was thinking about, because I was describing what Kaligarn. Also, Rooster, congratulations on your new job, and Rooster, Rust, K Grams. I'll see you guys all. Hello, popping in. Look, I know I get carried away talking, and I ignore you guys when I got guests on, and I apologize. But
we love you.
I see you, and I acknowledge you, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for chilling with us.
Thanks for chilling with us today. This happens. I just start talking with my pals about world building, and I forget I'm doing a show.
Yeah, I do that too.
Right? You're just doing stuff. Stuff's happening. Yeah. Anyways, so Kaligarn. The way I was envisioning it is this, like, at the lowest levels, almost like a thicket of vines, but like pipes and conduits and like haze. Right?
Yeah.
And then jutting out of the tops of it are these like towers for the corporations, right? And then maybe the largest tower looks like a big hand holding a pouch of gold, and that's where the golden satchel meets. It's a little on the nose, but I think it's, I don't know, it's kind of opulent.
So, yeah. I could also see, I could see in this region. Can you show me the map again?
Oh, sure. Let me show you.
So
like. I haven't gotten the topography of the place too much. I've just kind of like broadly, because most of the campaign I'm planning takes place here.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted these places filled out so that when people make a character from there, they've got a good understanding of where they come from, right?
Yeah. because I could see. So your Kaligar is a lot of business, and so they would like to keep their investments safe, right? So some of it I could see is you could probably have businesses just in airships.
Ooh.
Because they probably have a lot easier time navigating, going to their customers, making deals, because it's quite an like if it's an entire region of people making deals, you want to be able to get there.
Right.
So there's probably like a lot of different airships. They're not like this. Not everybody's got the standard, like blimp looking thing, but you'd probably have some cool magical looking ones.
Okay, so what if this?
Sure.
We have our thicket, and then we have our towers rising up.
Yeah.
What if the growth of a corporation in Kaligarn is you grow your company, you grow your tower, and then when you reach true success, you're able to build your airship at the top of that tower.
Yeah.
And then once you've had enough money to complete that airship can then fly up to a kind of giant floating platform that moves about the empire where the golden satchel resides, and then that's your ticket to the meeting, is you've gotten enough money to have your detachable headquarters at the top of your tower.
You can definitely do that. You could also I can also see it where like the tower itself, I'm just thinking of designs because that's how my brain works.
Oh yeah, you've got an artistic mind.
Yeah. Well, the shape of a elongated leaf.
Yes.
So it's just like I'm trying to think of a plant that has one, but like Google it so I can.
All right, let me.
Leaf, let's click on. Oh, it's right there.
Oh.
Down. Down and left, very far left.
This one?
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Think of it vertical though.
Okay.
So that is vertical, and that's probably like the tower itself.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of looks like this.
Okay.
And then maybe it has some like it's has structure on the inside, and it is an actual tower that you can go up and everything, and maybe even has like see my brain. I'm trying to articulate. I usually draw everything.
Hey, look, I wish I could draw everything. That's awesome.
Yeah. But just like if you imagine that as the tower's shape,
right?
But it still has the structure of the tower.
Mm-hmm.
But it could maybe even like detach and then just slowly turn in a 90 degrees, and then that's the airship.
Oh, so they bird. Oh, I hear you. That's awesome. So they build the airship vertical, and it's just like, oh, finally, and then.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, but it also can go back. Like it's like it
right.
has a hub.
Like Boba Fett's ship.
Sure, I
Star Wars. Okay, but
yeah.
No, I love that. That's like Wayside School.
Yeah, kinda.
God, that's a deep cut. God, remember Scholastic?
Yeah.
Went to the book fair, picked up some Wayside and some Robert Munch.
Yeah, Robert Munch. Dang.
God, way back in those days.
Yeah. So yeah, they kind of like build up those towers, but I think all of them kind of look a little different from each other. Maybe different type of leaf shapes. Maybe you could even base
maybe
it
depends on the industry, and maybe that's kind of like a show of maybe it's
power.
A show of opulence and power, right?
Yeah.
If you got the most extravagant looking airship tower, when it detaches and goes off. And
it also means that Kaligar can do overseas trading, which is what a business empire would want.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Power. Launch the airships.
You'd probably have both of those like two big towers in the sky that are like they became the airships that they're flying, and there are probably like tons of bridges in between them because they're just doing deals. Like these people
they're just linked
deals.
up, and it's the visualization of companies doing deals with each other as they link their ships for some time. I love it. Link up for deal making. Trade agreements. God, I just imagine the floating fortress that is Granny Nibbles Corporation.
Yeah, that's true.
It has like this veneer of like bright colors and smiling faces, but if you like look at it from the top, it's like cannons and
yeah. So then we have like the big businesses, but what would the average Joe live in? Would it be a normal looking home? But I bet we could do better than just a normal looking home.
Average home. So maybe it's aspirational. Maybe because I imagine the average Joes in Kaligarn, like everybody in Kaligarn thinks that they're going to hit it big.
True.
Everybody in Kaligarn thinks they're only working their job as a stopgap until their big idea gets off the ground. So I think when you start your home in Kaligarn starts as the idea that you're going to have this massive airship at some point.
So that it would be pretty makeshift. Makeshift. So it's just like, or makeshift? I can't remember what the word is. But it's just like, you're just like, you're hobbling stuff a bunch together just to make a home. Because really you're just you're just there to make it big.
I like the idea of all of them looking like partially constructed airships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're trying to get their idea off the ground.
Right. It's a visual. It makes
so
sense.
Funny.
So they're all like
that's so funny.
Partially put together. Like there's pieces of it. You get the idea of where they're going, and it's a visual representation of I'm climbing my way to the top.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, definitely.
I love it. So all of the homes are just collections of these things. And the goal is to rise above this thicket of industry that exists at the bottom to go up to the top of the big companies. Oh yeah, it
falls to the bottom though.
Yeah.
It's not because smog usually is above.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting if whatever they were using for the airship to fuel it, actual stuff is it's too dense. It actually goes to the ground so that you have a kind of a haze so that people are even more desperate.
Yeah, so many propellers that just
yeah.
So many downward facing propellers are just like
well, even just like I said, like the material they use to fuel the ship, the gas that comes out, like the exhaust is heavier than air. So it could be from like a certain source of fuel that we haven't determined yet.
Yeah, we can make something up.
Yeah.
Smog in poorer areas. I like this. This is awesome. Oh, dang. I appreciate your design aspect on things. I never thought about the buildings that they lived in and what they looked like and storytelling from that perspective. So I appreciate you bringing this in for me.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I start. I usually go crazy big and then eventually like tone it down.
See, I always start with just like a bit. My whole thing with this started with the idea of last light and people disappearing in the north. I wanted to create a world that had this kind of harsh survivalist winter where it's like everybody's preparing for when that winter hits. And there's a lot of mystique around it as well. Because that was what I thought like early settler Canadians kind of felt like when they were here.
Definitely.
Because it was very much like, this is horrifying. Like,
this sucks.
This is horrifying. I'm in a house made of grass. Like,
this sucks.
People are freezing to death all around me. What's going on? I wanted to kind of build that feeling into it, but I like this idea of like what the houses look like and that kind of thing. You want to do want to do one more before we call it a night?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay,
This
let's
is
do
my jam.
let's do Saskatoon. So
Sure.
Saskatoon, their empress is a lioness, a lion folk. Very much like honor, dignity, tradition, royal pomp, circum.
Yeah.
So I don't know. When I imagine the Saskatoon Empire, I'm imagining a lot of white buildings, like the veneer of it, right? But it's also an empire that has constantly been at war and was close to bankrupting itself, as recently as 15 years ago. So there's like the veneer of like honor, dignity, top of the food chain, white veneer, and then there's got to be something else underneath that, which is the consequences of the last, X number of years. We're just picking fights with everybody constantly.
Yeah. Jeez. It's, it would be interesting where it's like, so you're thinking like white veneer and stuff like that, but they also have financial issues. So I think what's been happening is that they probably, what was the region like before they took over? Like, was there people here?
In the Treasured Expanse, they haven't found any civilizations in the Treasured Expanse. But
Okay, so
as far as the Saskatoon Empire, like where everybody resides, their homes, their home places, it's a little bit fuzzy. I'm still building that part out.
Oh, it's okay.
I was thinking about perhaps there's like a legend that in the olden times, a lot of them reclaimed this territory from the Dragonlands, the Scale Lands, in some great wars that took place way back when.
Yeah.
But I want that to be kind of vague and legendary. I don't want it to be solidified.
Of course. Yeah, because I was just thinking that like if these are people who always take, they wouldn't be like. It would be interesting if they didn't have the ability to kind of make their own new buildings and stuff. They kind of like went off of other people's designs.
Oh shit! It's like the British Empire. They just lift designs from other nations.
Exactly.
And so
exactly. but it's just like shittier versions.
Right.
And,
it's like the mock version of it.
Yeah, but and exactly, and it's like if they were taking regions and then slowly taking territory, they would take a home that somebody had, and then they'd be like, well, we don't want to burn it down because we actually need this because we don't have much money, so we're gonna cover it in the white veneer, and it's actually like they're covering it, but it's actually still the design of the original. So they just try to upgrade it. So really, it's just like fancy looking, but it's not.
Right. And then coded, because they do have, like, I did in my head lore that I haven't fully solidified yet, like Ramvalli used to be bigger. And a portion of it has kind of been annexed by Saskatoon.
Yeah.
So that's why Saskatoon's like so wide, is because they've like taken shit from their neighbors.
Yeah, so they probably just like repainted their homes and they're like, it's ours now, and it's like, oh, okay. That's not great. But yeah, I know that. Just trying to think what they would do, because I know it could be pushed a bit more.
Quotation marks.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that idea that they've just kind of like amalgamated their stuff, so it looks like everything's
A cheap
given
coat on top.
Yeah, everything's given the same kind of color scheme, but beneath it, the physical structure of it is kind of taken from all different places. So it's like a hodgepodge of everything.
Yeah, and they don't actually really understand how to properly do their own thing.
Right.
They kind of just have done everybody else's thing just because that's how they've done it for so long.
Oh, this reminds me of a historical story. So apparently, like way back when Japan like first opened up its borders to like Western trade, the British were crazy about Japanese goods. So they tried to reproduce their own, but they had terrible artisans and they couldn't do it. So they made like shitty knockoff Japanese goods, but the Japanese loved it. For some reason, the Japanese were crazy about the knockoff British versions of their shit. So they were buying it up by the barrelful.
That's so funny.
They're like, wow, it's so cute. It's dumb when you try to do it, but I was like, that's neat. That's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. Have you thought about, okay, so we can move back to architecture, but I mostly need to know about, like, what do they produce more than war? Do they actually have any goods? Anything that's like, do they mine? What do they mine? What do they farm? What do they like to make?
So there's definitely a lot of industries. Most of the industries are crown industries. So I would say for Saskatoon, it would be, there's a lot of fishing, mining and smithing are huge, particularly for weapons companies.
Yeah.
Like any other nation that's been at war for a long time, there's been kind of a military-industrial complex that comes up. But also those people make other metal goods because, you know, you have the forges. You might as well. I feel like there's a lot of farming because they kind of have this broad expanse of land.
Yeah.
Some...
True. Yeah, that's true. They would have a lot. So I guess the thing is that you could make up certain items in there that would kind of shape their land. That'd be interesting and useful. So, like, let's say they mine. They go through, and they're mining rocks, and they discover a steel or something that when it is forged into a weapon, and you give it enough force, it heats up. Kind of like the heat metal thing.
Right.
But the stone actually, like, if you throw it up against the wall, it starts to warm up. This could also maybe combat against your ice creatures. This is probably the best weapons for them to combat against them. So that could tie in.
Hot slab steel.
Hot slab steel. Yeah. So they would have a lot of that. I'm just spitballing, obviously.
Oh,
you
no,
don't
absolutely.
Keep any of this.
Hey, look, I'm gonna write some style. This is gold. What are you talking about? Oh, speaking of this, so I did want to create this thing. Small tangent. So I did have this idea that people are finding this unusual metal in the Treasured Expanse. They find scraps and pieces of it in places. And I was thinking about what kind of properties I wanted to give it and what kind of abilities.
You could do it that.
I could do it with that. I did write down a little bit. Let me talk about it because I was talking about like special items and artifacts and things from the area. So okay, right. I think I just called it expanse metal or expanse steel, but you don't find it naturally. Like you don't find the ore. You just find like scrap pieces. And it's kind of like black-green marble texture.
Oh.
And it's smooth.
That's cool. Like jade?
Yeah, kind of like that. But like a bit darker. Like a really dark jade. But, so it's light, it's durable, and I wanted the main thing about this to be that it's magically conductive.
Ooh.
So it has the ability to transmit and diffuse magical energy.
Does it absorb it and keep it?
Not so much absorb as channel it. Like it can move through it. Like if you created a long bar of expanse metal, you could cast a spell into one end and it would come out the other side.
Ah. Big touchy pull.
Yeah, big touchy pull. Or if you made it, or you made armor out of it, when it hit the armor, it would like diffuse across the armor and spread out.
I see.
Also, it's corrosive to spirits and it's heat resistant.
Huh. Okay. That's interesting. I'm just thinking of like lore history, but that's not my reach. But since it's all like smashed pieces, sounds like there was a war.
There might be. I'm limited. I'm limited on what I could talk about because there's people watching.
I guess so. Yeah.
There's people watching, and some of my players for the fall game might actually see this.
Why are they watching? They should not watch this. If
Well,
they're
look,
world building.
I
get out.
told them that they could, and I would only discuss things that they would know from living in the world in this. So I'm holding a couple secrets in my back pocket.
Yeah, true.
About this place. Like I know what happens after last light. If you're north of flowing water, I have that sorted out. I also have a couple mysteries as far as like, I mean, Felix was putting this out. Like, there's all these round ponds.
Yeah, the holes.
In so there's all these circular ponds, and they've got like high edges all around them. They're all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, this seems like there might have been a war. Maybe there was.
But I mean, if there was, well, okay, so that moving aside from lower spoilers, but
Absolutely.
also it would make sense that if it is heat resistant, that there is ore that is activated by, hitting it and it gets hot.
Yeah, I do like that. I like that as an export of Saskatoon. This hot splat steel. This hot slap steel. Hot slap steel. It's gonna be a mouthful, but I'm gonna get.
Also, they'd have to. They probably would have to make very durable boats if they're gonna travel with it. Like, it's almost like, because it still heats up. It's not explosive, but it can make fires.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful with that. So they would probably build, just in general, with a lot of stone. But you could do a lot of crazy shit with that metal, like, because you could have armor like that.
Yeah, like when it gets hit, it lights up.
Heats up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it heats up, and I'm just saying, like, that could also just be like it could be bad. Yeah. But if you have somebody who works well with heat, like a fire genasi or something, they probably love that.
Yeah, you could have a hot slap stove where it's just like a slab and you hit it with a hammer and it lights up and you cook your food on it.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Or it maybe they have it where they mix the ore with other ore so that it's dilutes it. So that it
deadens it a little bit. So it's just warm and light and you can I like that.
So you could also have it where, like, ends of beds, you could have a very thin piece of metal that you just smack it and then it heats up your bed and stuff like that. Like, oh my gosh, like bathtubs.
Oh,
they probably have amazing baths there.
Oh, yes, let's give them big baths, opulent baths.
Yeah, because if they're supposed to be kind of like Rome, you could have like Roman bath kind of thing going on, like
by
bathhouse.
Hot slap steel. Empire. Places where wealthy mix with lower classes. It's kind of like a conversational place where people get together and discuss things, like coffee houses. I like it.
Yeah. But you would definitely have it where, like, this place seems like you'd have a bit of a melting pot of people.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to make I wanted all of them to. I don't like to have a lot of racism in any of my games, or really any racism, because fuck that. But like, so I wanted to make all of them multiracial societies, but I ran into a problem I wasn't thinking about. I was discussing, like, one of my commenters was like, "Hey, do you have elves in your world?" And I'm like, "Yeah, elves, sure." Like, okay, cool. Yeah. Can you tell me about them? And I was like, I can't. So, because I just broad brushed, yeah, sure, multiracial societies, whatever. And I was like, yeah, they're just there. Like, I didn't think about it. And so that's definitely something I've got to work out more as to, like, the individual racial histories and
Yeah.
cultures that exist within these places, because you can still have the multiracial society and still allow still have the races have their own identities and histories within that, and
Yeah,
find a
there's
way to
still
mesh
tensions,
it together.
like,
Yeah,
things still happen. Like
Yeah.
it's fine.
it's people are living
Um,
together. Stuff is real.
Yeah, and then but what I would say is just like this is kind of ties into that whole like covering each house in the white whatever it was.
Right.
But it's like the homes themselves kind of look like they're from different regions, but they're all the same, like have to be the same colors and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that. It's kind
they're
of like
all-
living in a homeowners association.
Right. It's very
like-
much like these are the pride and dignity of Saskatoon, and you must show that in
Abide
the
by.
coloring and the
In some way, because there's still like there's obvious tension
Oh, for
between
sure.
royal rule and also the region beside it. That's the reason why they were created. So you show that bit of tension with just the architecture.
I like that. I think that's really cool. Dingo, this has been great. I'm about out of time, but I've had a wonderful time. Thank you so much for coming by. Say
Yeah,
thanks
no
to
problem.
Felix
It was
when
fun.
he gets out of his.
Yeah, whatever time. What time is it here? Okay, yeah, he should be in his meeting now. For sure. But yeah, it was fun. I mean, world building is my favorite of all.
It's your jam?
So,
Wow.
it is
I mean,
my jam.
hey, look, anytime you got a Wednesday free and you want to hang out, I'm going to keep doing this. I'll be doing
Yeah,
this until probably about the summer, because I
Yeah.
think I'm going to keep building it until like July, beginning of July, and then I'm hopefully going to be done, and then I'm going to launch into promotions to launch the campaign in the fall.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, every Wednesday night I'm here. If you ever want to hang out, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear your input. This is some great stuff. I love having somebody that has a visual eye in terms of like the way you think about how a world looks and how that informs who they are
Yeah.
is a new perspective for me, and I very much appreciate it. I'm very glad to have it.
Well, I'm glad.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to perhaps more in the future if you're available.
Totally.
For now, we'll call it a night. Thanks everybody for joining me and hanging out while we do the world building. Check out the Treasured Expanse in the fall on the Mercs of Mischief. Eventually I'll have some people on here building characters. It's going to be crazy because my party is always crazy.
Yeah.
They're always nuts. I don't know why. Dingo,
You
can
give them too much sugar.
I've given them too much. Can I tell you what they did last week?
Sure.
So I created in the first season a ritual used by an evil wizard. Well, a good wizard that ended up turning evil because of the ritual. Basically, he wanted to protect his friends. So he found this old ritual that would allow him to absorb the power of other creatures and add it to his own. And so he kept absorbing bigger and badder creatures, and it started having a lot of negative effects on himself, and he found that he kind of became addicted to it and kept doing it. And it became more and more of a problem, and his friends tried to stop him, and he ended up killing one of them.
Oof.
Well, throughout the course of the campaign, our warlock had acquired that ritual.
Oh.
And he
Oh,
never
no.
used it. He never used it until our bard, she's a tiefling, and we're doing this whole arc where she's going back home. Her dad and her eldest sister are evil, and they've got a kingdom full of devils, and they're coming to get them. But her advisor, her helper and friend, a little imp, was assassinated.
No.
Yeah, it was very sad. It was very unfortunate to lose him. Rip Piztog. But he was assassinated, and in the depths of her grief, she summoned a Lord of the Hells and said, "Give me your power to fight my dad and my sister."
Oh.
And the Lord of the Hells said, "No. Look, I'm more than happy to help you. I don't like this devil either, but I don't think you can do it. So if you can get to the throne room, I'll lend you a hand then, but you need to show me that you're capable of surviving this. I told him, like, if you can't handle his underlings, what am I even doing here? Like,
Yeah.
So she didn't like that. So she turned to our warlock and said, I need the power. And he's like, okay, well, this guy's being a jerk, so I'm going to use the ritual. So
Dang.
he used the ritual on her, and she absorbed the Devil Lord, who at the time was residing inside of a Death Knight. So she absorbed a Death Knight and a Devil Lord. So that's what they did to me last session.
Now you gotta like, how do I stat this at all?
Right? Like, I'm just like, what do I even do with this?
Yeah.
This-
I mean, like, yeah, that's wild. I mean,
This is what
No, I
happens
mean,
when you run the campaign for 4 years.
yeah, you find all the little things,
Yeah.
and I know what it's like to have a character with a god inside of them. So it's like you have to figure out how to stat that without it just breaking the goddamn game.
Right? Ugh, nobody knows how we toil, Dingo. Nobody knows.
Well, you put consequences in. That's what you do.
Right.
Consequence.
We toil in the story and content mines to create these things for you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for chatting with me about world building. It was incredible to have these perspectives. Thank you to everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Till then, take care.